I'm the Director of Service Operations for GE Digital. We just became a software company in the fourth quarter of last year. And that is funny if you work in our world. I hope you're laughing on our side and not at us on that one. Because if you look at some of these numbers on how transformational it is to change an industrial world to be a software company, it's challenging. We have 14,000 developers on our platform, both inside of GE and outside of GE. If you look at just the pure technologists and practitioners working on our platform, that's 30,000 employees worldwide. Taking our traditional legacy software that we had had in each of our different industrial businesses or capital businesses, and then moving that to a common platform that we can all work on, it changes every day in our life. We're in 100 different companies, and we're on target to be a $5 billion business this year. And if you look at some of the assets that we manage around the world, I know the gentleman from Alaska Airlines came up. They are not our customer, but one of their partners or competitors are, like Delta Airlines and others. We actually monitor all Delta aircraft engines and can predict up into a year in advance when that engine might fail. If you look at the industry around the world of power generation, GE produces approximately 40% of all power generation around the world. That's all done through software. There's different levels of software. There's SCADA software, there's cloud software, and how do we bring these two worlds together? And that's what I kind of want to spend the next few minutes talking to you guys about today. So if you look at what the industrial internet is and drivers, we're actually taking the physical world of mechanical engineering, chemical engineering, power generation, wind turbines, MRIs, healthcare. It touches each and every one of us. And I know I'm proud to say I work for GE and I trust our software and hardware. But we can't do it alone. We have to have great partners, and Chef has been one of those great partners for us. If you look at the brilliant machines that we put in place, we have wind farms that if the wind changes, the front windmill can actually detect that turn and then tell all the other turbines in its field farm that's like 40, 50 acres wide on how to pivot and turn to be able to do more renewable energy demand generation. You take that, and now you can take that extra energy that's came off those windmills and put that down into an energy storage device to be able to use that later and be more worldly conscious. And it's not an easy thing to do to put all those together. Then you have all this data from all these industrial devices in the world and ERPs and enterprise IT systems. What do you do with that? We're just at the beginning of our journey, being able to find out how we can make a difference using software, physical, hardware, and analytics to improve not only how we manufacture our equipment, how our customers use our equipment, and then how we get in our customers' ecosystems to be able to make them be more profitable and safer for the world that we all live in. And one of the key things we always like to think about is people at work. It's great that we have all these tools, but people are an important equation for it, and the easier we can make it for them to do that, the better off we're all going to be. So when we look at service operations, the organization that I run today, and I've got my team sitting over here up front cheering me on, we've struggled in the past year. Last year, we were considered part of IT. We then moved over to be DevOps underneath our engineering organization of new products. Leadership changed again, as it does in any big company, and we became service ops. And every day people ask, well, what does service ops do? And if, I'm sure some of you guys are in the same world that we're in. Development makes something, it goes to QA, someone else checks it, some sales guys out selling it somewhere, and eventually it gets installed, and someone's got to support it. Everybody is in those silos, and that does not make the best product. It does not make it best for the people working on it because you never get the instant feedback if what you're developing and how it's working is impacting the customer. So as service ops, we're bringing those worlds together. We're taking the development team on what they do at both the platform layer as well as the application layer, compliance layers. We have managed service teams that actually use our software and help our customers. I use Delta Airlines as an example. We've got an industrial performance center in Chicago that actually talks to Delta every week and looks at all their engines in their fleet and helps them predict, hey, is this engine going to fail in the next week, next year? When can you take that engine off wing to be able to get it fixed before it impacts your operations? Because it's approximately $1 million for the aircraft to move back and go forward. And we don't want that. I know I personally don't. I travel a lot. I want to get where I'm going on time, as hopefully all of you do as well. And then into one other thing that we've learned as we've grown is a lot of times developers write code and they do a great job at it. But are you writing it efficiently? Is it cost effective? Are you using auto scaling and you're doing more consumption, especially if you're paying, AWS, our own platform, Predix, or anyone else, infrastructure as a service? Can you use some of this technology and learning to make it lower cost to serve and still deliver the value back to the customers that you might need? So that's what we've defined service operations. So if you look at the landscape we work in, I'm going to start at the bottom, because this is where GE has always played well at. We're an industrial company. We woke up last year and we became a software company overnight, and we're trying to get all these people to work in the same operating mechanism. So if you look at the operations world, these are things like oil fields in the Middle East. These are power generation around the world. All of our water that we drink, I can't say it's all powered by GE, but a good portion of it is. Those teams have so many regulations. For them to make a code change, it could take 1.5 years to get through an approval process. So how do you make it easier for them to do that? Then you start moving, like everyone else, we want to move to cloud. It's faster, it's cheaper, it's more reliable. The operations team is nervous about that because they don't have the same controls in place. Now you get enterprise IT in, and they're like, I'm not letting the operations staff connect to my enterprise network or go higher up because I don't trust it. It's not patched. It's running on a Windows XP system. So how do you get those two teams to talk together and use automation like Chef to go in and be able to do all the compliance checking that you need to make sure that you've got your configuration management? If you ever get audited, you can use this as reference material to go back to your auditors to say, yes, we are doing full ITSM, ISO 9001, and it's helped us along our journey. Then announced this year, in comes the Predix platform. We have to now connect the terrestrial world with our Predix world. And how do you make sure that you can manage all of those configurations, what's live in the cloud, what's live in the operations world, and make sure that it's forward, backward compatible? If you roll back, can you do that safely? I was in a planning session yesterday out in California, and our team is talking about, we're going to be pushing every 5 minutes. It's a great ambition. We've got a long way to go, and in our world of the industrial world, it's not as easy as it sounds, because if you make one change and you move a button that says, this is good over here, and now this is bad, you could have just wasted millions of dollars on a product by saying it's scrap and waste and it's put away. That's something we can't afford to do inside of our business, so that's why it's so important for compliance and configuration management that we have a way that we can measure this and always let our customers know ahead of time before we make changes. And then we also support the Predix applications in the top layer of the portfolio. And this is where the devil's in the details. And it's kind of a unique story of how we got here with Chef. Last year, we had a small team, and a couple of them said, hey, can we go to this Chef conference? We've heard it's great. A lot of people in GE are using this. And we allowed our practitioners to go. They all came back and said, Rachel, we have to have this. There's no way that we can manually stand up things in AWS where we're at today. We can't automatically deploy everything we need to Predix. We need a way that everybody in the ecosystem can work together, whether it's bringing in your application code, whether it's a platform that you're using as a service, infrastructure code, whether you're using platform as a service or you're actually standing up VMs in your own data centers. You've got your different development teams that they're all shadow IT. They can stand up a VM and they can test their code and it's good. But what about all the ports and protocols that you left open? What about the default admin passwords? If you get to production and you do your pen test and that you find that, you've now lost, either an entire sprint or an entire release cycle for some people up to a quarter that you can't release because you didn't do your testing. So Chef allows us to use all the automation. I believe the new term is called inspect. I apologize, I don't know all the new release names. Then we've got professional services that comes in. And this is the organization we're under now, and it's been kind of a ironical change. They've been so used to going to customers' environments and manually installing things and jury-rigging it to get it to work, and it works, and then they leave and the customer calls, and hey, we can't repeat this. So we started introducing Chef to them. Chris on the team has actually done a really good job of teaching them how to do that, and it's been mind-changing in just the past quarter of, hey, this is really easier. If you can make it repeatable, I don't have to worry about... Thank you. I don't have to worry if I did it right or not. I can add my value on making sure the application works, configuring it to what the customer wants, bringing value back to the customer. And that's been a transformational shift. I won't pretend to say it's easy. We're picking off one person at a time. I showed the Predix component of it earlier. We reached out, the team was out in San Ramon talking to our DevOps team about a month ago and said, hey, why don't we share the same pipeline for Chef? And it doesn't matter if you're DevOps, you're Service Ops, you're Cloud Ops, you're a developer. It's a common methodology we can all use. If you look at our platform and our microservices, I think we're up to about 120 different components. And who's on first and when are things changing? As of our last release that we just went GA, it's gotten 1 million times better. But using Chef as a release management tool and doing all the due diligence sooner in your life cycle, make sure that you can deliver the new features and functions that all of our customers want. We mentioned our friends, professional services. They're the ones that go out and talk to the customer, and they all want to write new code and put it in place. And we had Tim Corwin on the team. First part of the quarter, professional services would come in and they'd do a GitHub push and into our, I think it was rehearsal, no, it was dev environment and then union environment. And he would never let it go to production. And so our professional services organization is, why are you looking at my code? Why are you pushing packets? Like, because that query will take down the whole dang database and it'll shut down for the customers. We can't do that. So when we, you through automation and having them actually be able to push it in through Chef and do the testing, nobody has to stay awake at night anymore and check the code, and you can actually do more and more test-driven development, which is in turn has made those professional services developers feel like they're contributing more, and it's not an us against them. It's a, this is the source of truth, this is what we've all committed to, and it just helps the velocity of delivering to our customers. Starting this quarter, we're going to make it even more fun. Knowing that anybody that's on a platform or anybody writing software, you want your customers to be able to contribute. So we're letting our internal GE customers and a few select external customers start writing code. Everybody's got a different style of writing. We've got all of our UX framework that we have to do, but from a governance perspective, we've got to make sure anything they write and bring into the ecosystem doesn't break what we have today. Again, another challenge. Hey, I'm better. I know what my customer needs. As we've started to work with the different GE businesses and show them this is a governance perspective, and with their leadership, it gave them more confidence that this is what we need to take in the next step of our journey. Would I ever say that we're 100% at what we do? I don't think anybody is. And if they are, maybe we should go work for them. But Chef has really helped us take that next step. After the Chef conference that people came back from last year, we decided we needed to invest. We got the money for the tooling to do that. We couldn't hire talented enough people to work and build this fast enough for us. So Chef has a great professional services organization that we started out with one contractor in Albany, New York. He came in, he helped us do a couple of MVPs to show the value to the business. And then in this growth transformational change, we were able to go out and source in, I believe we're up to 4 now, chef professional services people that are helping us get through the velocity of our sprint deployments even faster. And it's amazing when you can show the value that tools and automation are bringing, because lots of times that's the hidden part. Everybody's looking for those new features and functions and not the total operational and stability of the system. And that's been a great pleasure of working with Chef. I know that anytime we need a new resource to onboard one or bring one off or just to come in and train our team, they have been so helpful at that. And this is something that doesn't even keep me up at night anymore. I'm like, okay, between the team that we have and Chef, they're going to make this work. Let's go start solving other problems that we have in the world. And for that, I want to say thank you all for letting me come up on stage and talk with you.